My greatest fighter of all time, this is what I've seen. I take Floyd Mayweather because that's what I've seen. But when it comes to historian, and if it was Olympics Games, you will represent America. So I want to ask you, who is your top 5 greatest fighters of all time?
Well, here's what I always say. It could fluctuate because here's the thing. There's not enough, and I always use the top 10. There's not enough room in the top 10 for the top 10. There's 50 guys that could be in the top 10.
Great.
You can't go wrong. If you put Sugar Ray Robinson in there, I would say Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Willie Pep, those are kind of givens. Henry Armstrong is kind of given. But now you got to say, well, what about Roy Jones? What about Kid Gavilan? What about Duran, in his prime, Duran? What about, and you could name them, Muhammad Ali, you could name Larry Holmes, you could name so many people that could be in. I would say, all intents and purposes, you have to have Sugar Ray Robinson in there, and Willie Pep. I would put, as the given, I would put those two. Like, they've got to be in there, just historically and everything combined. But, depending on the day, who knows? There's so many other guys. A lot of people, I think, bumped Roy Jones out because of the way his career ended. But I don't subscribe to that because they don't do that with Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson, at the end of his career, was losing to guys with records like 18-7. He was losing a lot of fights. He lost 19 fights. People don't realize that. They don't give him any grief over that at all. But Roy Jones, they crucify Roy. And, Roy Jones, listen, you can talk about technique and whatever, but in his prime, he wasn't losing. On his best day, he wasn't losing. Yeah, man. And the best technique in the world wasn't getting it done. Bernard Hopkins, Mike McCallum, tons of guys had good technique. Yeah. The good technique didn't help. It didn't help. Yeah. It didn't help. And, on his best, like his song says, it's funny, but y'all must have forgot. You forget. And I say, if you take, and he said this, and I said this before he did. He said, take a 5-minute highlight video of me and put it up against anybody. Put it up against anybody in history. Yeah. And tell me I'm not there. Yeah. I'm not on that level. Yeah. Come on, man. Yeah. Roy Jones was the first time I saw Roy Jones was in the National Golden Gloves, 1987. I saw him fight Anthony Daly on the first day, 156 pounds, right? April of 87. Anthony was on my team. I beat Anthony the year before, so I knew Anthony. I went to the payphone right after I called my father. And back then, I didn't realize he was from Florida because he fought for Knoxville. And I said, Dad, you got to see this kid from Knoxville. I said, he's going to go to the Olympics next year. This guy's unbelievable. Like, this guy's a phenomenon. And at the time, he wasn't even an Olympic contender. Tim Littles and Frankie Lyles were considered the front runners, and Gerald McClellan. They were considered the front runners, not Roy Jones. But Roy, from the 87 and 88, he just was electrifying.
Yeah. Does anyone ever in history beat him at 168?
No.
I don't think so.
No, he's just, I think, the most unbeatable 168 pound player of all time.
I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you a story about how this man is. Now I remember reading a thing one time, and he said something to the effect of, and other fighters who said this, like, they got bored. They kind of slacked a little and looked beatable in certain fights because they got bored. And me, as a fighter, I'm thinking, man, how could you get, like, even the most boring fight is the most exciting thing ever to happen to you. Like when you're in a fight, that's high level stuff. Like, to the crowd, it might look boring, but to you, you're on pins and needles. It's unbelievable. But by the same token, I could see, like, for example, if I'm sparring with a bunch of novice guys and I'm playing with them, well, after a while, my guard's not going to be as alert. I might get hit a little bit more against these guys because I'm not that fearful anymore. Because I know if I step it up, I could beat them easily. And I would imagine that was Roy Jones with world-class fighters. Like, he would fight guys who, against other people, looked awesome. against him, they look like they never boxed before. They look like they never had a fight.
They say I ain't fight nobody. I just make them look like nobody.
But people say, oh, that guy doesn't look good. I go, yeah, look at that guy. Look at Thomas Tate. Roy Jones stopped Thomas in 2 rounds, walked him into a left hook, right? Right before that, Thomas gave Julian Jackson all the fight he wanted for 12 rounds. And Julian was the pound-for-pound hardest puncher on the planet at that time, the most feared man at that time. And Thomas gave him the fight of his life up until Gerald McClellan. And then right after that, Roy beat Thomas, easily. So Thomas was a very good fighter. Percy Harris, Jorge Castro, these guys could fight against other people. But against Roy Jones, if you didn't know who they were, you'd go, the guy.
Virgil Hill too.
He's probably 15-7.
Stop to the body shot.
Yeah. I mean, Virgil Hill went on to win that WBA belt like 6 more times after Roy stopped him.
Hey, and let me tell you, I've sparred Roy Jones many times, and I've told a million people his body shots are his best punches. Those are the punches, especially a left hook to the body. Those are the punches I thought about. When I was getting ready to box him on a certain day, I was like, okay, let's be careful with the body shot. So him, clipping, and people who were there say you could hear Virgil's rib break. You could actually hear it. They said one guy described it to me who was there. He said it sounded like a shotgun, like somebody fired a gun. He said you could hear it. Yep.
Yeah, pass on that.
What's up? I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Ant. Follow me on IG, Ant with 2 T's. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
All right. Just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And then you tell them what to do. I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Anthony Brenagh.
Carson A. Merk. Like, subscribe, comment.
This is the Porter Way.